I'm Mr. Adams. I teach you stuff. Today we're going to learn about prehistory. We're going to start with our thesis statement. The Neolithic Revolution was one of the biggest changes in the history of mankind. This is the main idea that I want you to know about this period of time. There's a lot of information crammed into this short statement. Our goal for this unit is to unpack the thesis statement and give you some reference points to understand and explain this statement. Having a grasp of what this statement means is very important because it provides a foundation as we continue through world history. By the end of this unit, you'll be able to explain why it's called prehistory, explain what we know about this period and how we know it, and the limitations of what we know. Define the Neolithic Revolution. If it's a big change, we need to know what it is. Describe life before the revolution, and describe life after the revolution. We also need to be able to cite specific evidence that supports the idea that it was one of the biggest changes in history. So let's start with the name. If the prefix pre means before, how can we have a time before history? Well, history begins with written records, so prehistory is the time before the development of writing, which leads us to a second question. How do we know anything about this period if there are no written records? There's two groups of scientists who can give us information about this period: archaeologists and anthropologists. Anthropologists have studied modern-day hunter-gatherer societies and speculate that ancient hunter-gatherers' lives would have been similar to the ones observed today. Archaeologists study the physical remains of the ancient societies. These physical remains give us the other name for the period, the Stone Age, which is a little misleading. Prehistoric people made tools from wood, bone, vines, and stone. But things made from plants and animals have long since decomposed, while the stone implements have remained. This lack of documentary evidence leads to one of the biggest frustrations about this period, because there is so much that we just don't know about the motivations and thought processes behind the actions of prehistoric people. We divide the Stone Age into two parts: the Paleolithic and the Neolithic. Paleolithic means Old Stone Age, and Neolithic means New Stone Age. What makes the two periods different? The Neolithic Revolution. What change came into the world at this time that altered life? The advent of farming. Before the Neolithic Revolution, humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers. After it, they became settled farmers. We want to examine and gather specific evidence of what life was like for humanity before the Neolithic Revolution and how agriculture changed our species' lives. We're going to dispel the myth that Paleolithic people were primitive by examining the technologies they created, such as flint knapping, fire starting, and rope making. We'll learn how the dog was domesticated and investigate the amazing art preserved in the caves of France and Spain. Notice how all these ideas can be related back to hunting and gathering, the key defining factor of Paleolithic life. We then move to the Neolithic Revolution and discuss how farming changed the way humans lived. Instead of being nomadic, people became sedentary. As they stayed in one place, they accumulated more possessions. Inequalities developed. Hierarchies developed. As larger groups of people lived in one place, the informal rules of the clan gave way to more formal and structured governments. It's important to understand how the changes in this period set the stage for the river valley civilizations that come next.